Well, to this now, Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen says Eskom may be creating an illusion of improved electricity supply ahead of the elections. He made the comments in an opinion piece published in the Sunday Times newspaper today. The country is today marking 25 days of uninterrupted power supply due to what Eskom says is sustained generation capacity and adequate emergency reserves. Eskom Board Chairperson is Mteto Nyati. He joins us now to respond to Mr. Steenhuisen's remarks. Mr. Nyati, good evening to you and thank you for your time. I'm going to put the question directly to you. Is the ANC putting pressure on you to keep the lights on, as claimed by John Steenhuisen?
Firstly, thank you for having us. We saw the article written by John, and in fact, in our view, it reflects many of the theories held by a number of people in our country, that somehow the reason why we are where we are today in terms of no load shedding is because the politicians have put pressure on Eskom. That is not true. The reason why we are where we are, and I've been coming to your program and sharing our plan and what is it that we have been doing over the last 18 months. It is the results of that work. We started in essence in around about March last year to implement a very, very strong planned maintenance across selected power stations within Eskom. Yeah. And that required us to take the pain in the short term, where we ended up having higher stages of load shedding because we have taken some of this equipment out of line. And now, having done a significant number of these power stations, we are starting to see the benefits of that. This is where we are now. We have significantly reduced unplanned maintenance, which has been a big problem facing Eskom over the last number of years. We have removed that from around about 19,000 megawatts. We're currently sitting at about 13,000 megawatts of unplanned outages. We have to continue to work on this and take it down to below 10,000 megawatts in order for us to feel like we are where we need to be as a country. That's not where we are right now. But right now we are beginning to see the benefits of the hard work done by the people of Eskom. So what we are hearing from some people about the theories is not true at all.
All right. So let's perhaps explore then a little deeper, because John Steenhuisen seems to question why Eskom has not finalized its budget for the 2024-2025 financial year. Do you have a direct response to that question before we move on?
Yeah, what is interesting, generally people in South Africa, they just like to throw statements, which sometimes, other people do not have to back statements with facts. They just have to throw them. And this one is another one of those statements where we do not understand where it comes from. I'm the person, together with our board, who this budget gets presented to us by management. We interrogate it, we challenge it, we send them back if we need to, and at some point we approve it. This budget was approved about a month ago, and it was indeed, as we were required to do so, submitted to National Treasury and also the Department of Public Enterprises. So I do not understand the statement where it's coming from.
So, according to Eskom, there is no delay in publishing its budget for the coming year, financial year.
No, the budget has already been submitted. We are running now the company in line with the budget for this current financial year. For example, I mean, there's this theory that we are running OCGTs hard. You know, we are burning diesel. That's what everybody is saying. In line with our budget, we made it a point that this current financial year, we halve our budget for OCGTs. Our load factor for last year was sitting at about 18%. For this current financial year, the load factor for OCGTs, the open gas cycle turbine, the load factor for this year is 9%. And currently, in this current financial year to date, we are very much in line with that 9%. So again, I do not understand where all of these things are coming from, because it do not reflect the reality that is happening within Eskom.
Well, you seem to have prompted my next question, because it relates to the open cycle gas turbines, which he talks about in his article, because he suggests that that seems to be the reliance, perhaps, for why we are not seeing load shedding. Just educate us. Let's educate the public first about when it is that Eskom relies on open cycle gas turbines in order to keep the lights on. That's when diesel comes into play.
Yeah. So generally, instead of investing in additional capacity, meaning building a dedicated power station for the peaks, you generally use what is called the open cycle gas turbines for peaks. Those peaks generally happen in the mornings and also in the evenings. So for those peaks, you then use your open cycle gas turbines to address the additional demand that is happening during those times. And this is exactly what we have been using it for. But because our power stations in the past have been very much unreliable, they have been used much more than during the peaking periods. That's why we ended up with a load factor of sitting at around about 18% in the last financial year. But because now we have improved significantly the reliability of our coal fleet, we are able to use them very much in line with their design, during peaking hours. But as I had indicated, we have a 2-year plan which was approved last year in March. We are 1 year into that plan. We still have to execute additional plant maintenance over the next year to get to a point where we are comfortable that, we have got a much more reliable fleet. So from time to time, we end up using the OCGTs when some of the equipment trip. But it's happening less frequently these days because of the work that we have done over the past year.
Well, I actually want to get your very clear statement around these OCGTs, because that is what the DA leader relies on, because he says the reason the budget for 2024-2025 has not been published yet is because Eskom is trying to hide how much money is going into diesel. And the assumption, at least for him, is that it's lots that's going into the diesel because Eskom has been relying on these OCGTs in order to keep the lights on. So what you're saying is that there has been no over-reliance on the gas turbines to keep the lights on.
Not at all. We're actually using it for peaking, That's exactly what we've been doing, And very interestingly also, another theory is that because, of course, it's not a theory, it's something that is true to some extent. The fact that we have rooftop solars, they are, yes, significantly helping us reduce the load within the demand of the Eskom power stations. Yes, it's true that. But we have been through periods where for 2 or 3 days, we had cloudy weather, it's been raining. So during those periods, you just do not have the sun or the energy coming from the sun to be able to support the households. And all of that goes to what? They go to Eskom. And we have not had load shedding even during those times. And you may remember it was raining of 2 or 3 days last week. We didn't have load shedding. And why is that? It is because our base is becoming much more reliable. And I think what many people choose not to accept is that Eskom has been able to begin to fix its own problems. That's what people do not want to accept. Yeah. And unfortunately, this is what is happening.
Let's talk about the energy availability factor, because this is another point he picks on, that the EAF is at exactly the same point, if not similar, to where it was this time last year. And so, again, this is him trying to disprove that there is plant improvement or plant performance improvement. Where is the EAF right now? Is he correct when he says the energy availability factor is at a similar point to where it was this time last year?
No, for the month of this month, this current month of April, our EAF is sitting at about 58-59%, significantly higher than when it was during this time last year. And that is no surprise, because we have been able to bring back the equipment that were under planned maintenance, and at the same time we have reduced significantly the unplanned outages. A combination of those two factors has contributed to the increase in EAF. And just I want to remind people that there has been a report by VGBE, and VGBE report continues to advise all of us that EAF is actually not the best measure. We should be very careful of looking at that, because it can drive bad behavior. For example, we could have chosen to drive up EAF by not doing planned maintenance. So everybody would say, oh, things are fine, but in fact, we would have been doing wrong things. So we kept EAF as being low by doing planned maintenance. But now, as we're getting back into winter and releasing more of that back into production, our EAF has been going up, together, of course, with the work that we've been doing on unplanned outages.
Yeah. As we taper down this interview, before I ask you the obvious question that says, to what do we owe this uninterrupted power supply? A question preceding that is, we are now in the throes of the winter months. How bad is load shedding going to get? Or maybe let me be slightly clearer using Eskom terminology. Are we going to see stage 6 at all during this winter season?
I'm reminded of people when they're talking about the body, they say that the summer body is made in winter.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you've heard of that. It's the same thing for us, more or less. When it comes to the winter capacity, we make that winter capacity in summer. So what you need to be doing in summer, you need to be doing your planned maintenance and do a lot of that. And then when winter comes, you release that plant back into production, and you'll have much more reliable capacity joining and producing. So that's what we are going into winter with. I am not going to be making any announcement around the winter plan. Management will be making that announcement on Friday, the coming Friday. We'll be sharing our winter plan, and it will be led that announcement by our CEO. I would like to give him the space for him to communicate to the country what our plans are. What I can say, though, is that our winter plan is going to be significantly better than the plan that we had the previous year. So we are continuously improving.
Well, that is very encouraging. All right. So all things considered that we have spoken about thus far, final question, to what do we owe this uninterrupted power supply? Is it plant performance?
What we owe is discipline, and I've mentioned this before. We were at some point in Eskom, we had managers that were not managing, and we had leaders that were not leading. And that created chaos in some of these environments where people were not following standard operating procedures, meaning doing maintenance when it is required and doing maintenance in the right way. So as from the last 18 months, largely we have been driving a disciplined execution of maintenance. And that we are starting to see the benefits of that work. And that's the work that is being done by the Eskom people. And I'm truly proud of the work that I've been doing thus far.
Eskom Chairperson Mteto Nyati, let me thank you very much for your time, sir. Well, there you have it. It is down to discipline, which puts us where we are right now, 25 days of uninterrupted power supply.